Hey band directors, it's Dwayne Huff with Band Leadership Seminars, and this one's for you, not your students. Though what I'm going to share with you, you can probably pass along or model for your students because I think it will serve them as student leaders as well as hopefully it will serve you too. And the question of the day is really, what do you do when there's a disconnect in vision or a difference in vision? Now, this can be a disconnect between your vision and your assistant band director or their vision. It can be a disconnect between you and the students or the drum major or the section leaders, or it can be between the drum major and the section leaders. Or, and this is probably where it'll really hit home, it can be a disconnect between your vision and your booster's vision or your administration's vision. So 360 here. What do we do if there's a disconnect between our vision? Now, if we're in a position of authority or seniority, or if you're the band director and you have students, or you're the band director and you have an assistant band director and they are disconnected with your vision, then it seems obvious that the reality of the situation is you're in control, your vision reigns. And in reality, that's true. But in the spirit of wanting to have your vision perpetuated and have your vision shared and have your vision embraced by those who follow you or who are in your charge, there's a couple of different ways that you could approach that. And one way that you have full right to approach it is to simply say, listen, this is it. This is the way it's going to be. Here's how we're going to do things and how it's going to carry out. And that can be effective. Don't get me wrong. But a more challenging way to approach that is to simply say, I'm going to understand what really is going on that's causing the disconnect and see if I can connect the dots so that the vision becomes clearer and it becomes more readily received and embraced. And so what I want to point back to is the philosophy of seek first to understand and then to be understood, which was promulgated by the late Stephen Covey when he wrote the book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. But when it comes to, for example, your vision and your administration's vision not being in sync, this might serve you in that capacity from that perspective. And the reason I bring this up this week is because in my Band Leadership Inner Circle, which is a private Facebook group, and you may be watching this there, and if you are, I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments and suggestions and ideas in this community. So just drop your comments below, questions, whatever the case might be. If you're watching this because I sent it to you via email, please join us in the private Facebook community. By the way, I apologize for the informality of this video. I usually try to put some stuff out there that's a little more professional and produced. And you might hear my daughter in the background. But a question came up every time someone asked to join that private Facebook group, and I invite you in as a band director. It's a community just for band directors to network, to ask me questions, to share ideas and thoughts. And that's where this came up. Every time somebody joins, there's 3 questions I ask them. And if you look at the post below me in the group, you'll see the question that came from an assistant band director who is concerned because it appears that his vision and passion for leadership and leadership development of the students is disconnected or not in line with his head band director. And it's easy to look at that and state what most of us probably see in that, and it's the fact that, you know, the head band director has the ultimate say, ultimately responsible, ultimately has a vision, and I would agree. I would agree with that. But if we look at the seek first to understand and then be understood philosophy, what we get the opportunity to do is model the right leadership behavior, not only for the people who report to us and who we're in charge of or have charge over, but also to model the right behavior for those who may be in positions of authority or leadership over us. And so I wanted to share kind of my thoughts on this and what I shared. I had the opportunity to speak with that assistant band director today, and we had a great conversation. And I honor him for wanting to get these visions in line and get on the same page with his head band director. And we had a great conversation around that. And so here's my thoughts. If you're in a position of authority and leadership and you're trying to cast the vision and have the vision take and catch and have your people embrace the vision, you can go at it from a perspective of, look, I'm the band director, I'm in charge, this is the way it's going to go, and there's no exception because ultimately I'm responsible for it. And if that's the way you want to do it, I invite you to do that. That's fine. But if we want to model for our student leaders, for our assistant band directors, for the section leaders, for the drum major, whoever it is, when we perceive that someone is not in line with our vision, and ultimately it is our vision that matters to carry things forward, what if we were to take a moment and fully understand why the disconnect exists? What part of the vision is unclear, misunderstood, or not being embraced, so that we, as leaders, can bridge the gap or connect the dots? There's two resources that I want to point to that I think will serve you in this capacity. And one of them is a book written by an author. His name is Robert A. Cialdini, PhD, and he wrote a book called Influence, The Psychology of Persuasion. And then there's another resource, and I've mentioned it in several of my videos. It's called the Johari Window. It's a model of communication that was developed in 1954 by two American psychologists who wanted to show us visually what it looks like whenever we communicate. So I invite you to look into both of those, but let me summarize it for you. In Dr. Cialdini's book, he basically did an experiment because he wanted to understand what caused people to buy in or buy into an idea or a concept or a suggestion or a recommendation. So they did an experiment, and what they found out was when someone tried to offer a suggestion, push their opinion across, or get somebody to do something, when they simply would say, here's what I need you to do, here's what I want, here's what I expect, here's what I need, compliance to that suggestion, recommendation, or idea was received about 10% of the time. But the moment they started giving a reason, here's why, or we're doing this because, compliance and acceptance of that idea went up to 90%. So as a person who's casting a vision or trying to share a vision or trying to get your vision understood, my question is, if by giving a simple because or why or explanation, though you don't need to do it, if that would make your life easier and make your vision received a whole lot quicker, what would be the hurt in trying to make that connection? Unfortunately, we can't really do that until we understand what the other party or what the other people we're thinking or disconnecting with. So again, it goes back to first seek to understand, then to be understood. So I think that starts with a conversation, whether it's your assistant band director, whether it's your administration, whether it's your section leaders, your drum major, to sit down, maybe write out the assumptions you're making about the situation, and then test those assumptions before taking action or talking through it. The second thing is with the Johari window, he talks about 4 different windows of communication, the best one being the open window communication. That's when both people are on the same page. There's no secrets, there's nothing hidden, everybody understands each other, and things ebb and flow. But that's not all the way things happen. So one of the suggestions I made to this assistant band director that I'll suggest to you, whoever you're working with, is that even though you could push your agenda, state your vision, stand firm in your position, what I would invite you to do is humbly go to the other person, whether you need to or not, and simply seek to understand their position by asking a simple question. And if it's your students, you could say something like, so in the way we do things in band here, the vision that I have looks like this, but it seems to be not received very well, or there seems to be some disconnect or some pushback, and I fully want to understand that. So I'm coming to you guys to help me understand, what is it that's not clear? What is it that's not comfortable? What is it that you might not feel good about? And even though you don't have to do that, modeling that behavior to them and showing them that they have a voice, that they can ask questions, that they can push back, allows you to see what they're thinking in a full 360, so that you know where the challenges are, you know where the disconnect is, you know where the pushback is, without assuming it, and you have a much clearer picture of the landscape, if you will. And here's what I suggested to the band director. I suggested that he go to his head band director and actually sit down and have that conversation. Say something to the effect of, as long as we've been working together, I don't think we've ever had the conversation about leadership development and what your thoughts and philosophy are on that. And I wanted to take initiative to fully understand what that is. And the hardest part that we'll face is to be silent long enough to allow the other person to open up and share. And once that person does, whether that's the head band director or that's your administration or that's your students, when you fully listen to what they have to say, you get to form an idea of what needs to be addressed. And then being patient enough to realize that it doesn't need to be addressed right then. You can take it away and go home. And here comes my daughter. Here's my daughter. So excuse me for that. But, oh, she wants to be the center of attention, so I might as well show you. That's Amelie. Say hello, everybody. What you got, baby?
I wanted to turn my lights on in my room.
I will come in just a moment to do that, okay?
I can change my dress.
Okay, can I?
Show them the picture. I want to see this picture.
They can't see that picture. Can I come help you in just a moment?
I don't think.
Okay. Anyway, that's my daughter Amelie. She's wonderful. And many times I have to sit there and I have to listen to what she perceives. If you have children, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So anyway, my point being is that it's so easy to rush into it to make a snap decision and try to act upon it. But one thing I learned back in one of my sales roles as a pharmaceutical sales rep, they taught us how to do a pre-call plan where we would study the notes we made from the last call. We go into our conversations with a goal or an idea or a strategy for how we wanted to handle it. And then at the end, we take notes on the good, the bad, and the ugly. And it would be 2 weeks to 4 weeks before we saw that doctor again. So we had a chance to formulate an approach, a strategy, a response, a dialogue that would create a win-win outcome for us and for that physician. And so I invite you to do that as well. Once you understand what's really going on, how the people are really thinking, or what their philosophy really is, take mental notes of it. Step away. Give it some time. Plan it out. Take notes and understand what's fully going on before you come back to continue the conversation. And so I invite them to do that. Now that takes patience. That takes a certain degree of humility. And I don't know about you guys, but I've always had a challenge with humble. And that's probably why I keep going through the test. But I invite you to humble yourself. Again, remembering that humbling yourself is not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less. And even though you're in a position of authority with your assistant band director or the students, modeling that humility of putting the ball in their court and asking them questions to fully understand. And it'll come in very handy whenever you're with your administration next time. You're trying to get what you need, want, and expect to carry your vision out, and they're not quite on the page with you. Exercise the same principle. Go to them, help them to open up and see kind of where they are. And what you might see is common ground that you guys already walk on. And when you step away and strategize and come back, you have that common ground to establish the fact that you guys are on the same page. And then when the walls are down, you can actually address those concerns. And more importantly,
I have a bunch of toys, but I can't get. I have baby dolls.
yeah, baby dolls. Go get one of your baby dolls.
What?
Go get one of your baby dolls.
Oh.
I'll try to wrap this up while she's gone. But anyway, being able to synergize by collaborating. You know, when the walls are down and you guys are spitballing ideas, all of a sudden you're co-creating, and greater solutions than you came to the table with, or that they could have come to the table with, happened. And as a result, people support what people help create. So I hope that served you and assisted you. Let me get out of here before Amelie comes back. Drop your comments and your questions below. I'd love to hear what you got to say, and I look forward to talking to you soon. I just wanted to give this video to serve you. Pass it along to your students. Model it to bridge those gaps that you're facing so that your vision can be carried out, whether you're talking to your administration, your students, your drum majors, or your assistant band director. Have a great day. We'll talk to you soon. There's Amelie's dolls. Show them your dolls, baby. All right. It's Dwayne Huff, Band Leadership Seminars signing off. And if you haven't joined us in the private Facebook group, please do that. I've left a link up here or below here, depending on where you're going. I hope this is entertainment for days. Have a great day, guys. Talk to you soon. Hello again, it's Dwayne Huff, Band Leadership Seminars, and you know what? I'd love to work with you and your students this year, and there are 3 ways that we can do that. Number 1, my live seminar events where I come out to your school. Number 2, my live virtual seminar, which is part me working with you via video conference and part my online course. And number 3, my Band Leadership Online course. And what I've done is I've put a video together to explain all three, and I've put the link above or below this video. So go ahead and click through to learn more about each of these opportunities, and I look forward to working with you and your students this year.